Hello. I'm fixing the settings on this. I know you can see me, but whatever. What a day it's been. Anyway, today I promised again that we were going to use some regular cord or things that you have around the house. And today I wanted to do something. I get a lot of requests from guys going, do you do anything for us? So this is non-frills. What we're going to do today is do a little pouch for a rock or a stone or something like that that looks like I did two of them. So here's one in with white cord. This is just plain cotton cord. You can use cotton cord, you can use hemp cord, any kind of cord or yarn that you have to make these little pouches for a rock or a stone or cabochon or something that doesn't have, or crystals, something that doesn't have a hole in it. And you can use it for a hanging, you can use it for a necklace. It's entirely up to you. They're really versatile and they're so easy to do. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. What we need to consider, I'm going to use black again. What you need to consider is how much you need. I just go ahead and get about 2 yards times 3. You need 3 pieces. So if you're just going to make a little pouch without the necklace attachment, you don't need quite that much. So what you would need to do is take your cord and just measure your rock. This is the rock that I'm using today. Up a little bit. So this is the rock that I'm using today. And you want to take your cord and just do a little loose wrap around it, see how much that measures out to be. And then you need to determine how many of these little knots you're going to need to put in your cord. I did 4 on each side because I have 3 cords, and so a total of 12 knots, 4 per strand. So with 4 knots, you need to decide how many inches you need for that. And the way to do that is to just take a length of your cord, say 5 inches, make a knot in it, and then remeasure and see how much is left. If you have 4.5 inches left, then that means you need 1/2 inch of cord per knot. So these are some of the determinations that you need to make. For just general rule of thumb, I would make sure you have at least 1.5 yards of cord per strand. Again, you're going to need 3 strands. So I have 2 yards per strand. I figure I can cut off what I don't need, so that's no problem. And I can make it as long or as short as I want. So you need to decide how long you want your necklace to be. If you want a 20-inch drop, you want that 20 inches plus the circumference of your rock, very loosely, plus the number of knots that you need to put in. And you're going to need a knot at the top of your rock or your stone, and a knot at the back for where you tie it off. So that's where we are today. I have 3 strands of cord here. And so what you're going to do is take each one and fold it in half. I'm going to start with 1. So I have 1 cord. I'm going to take the ends, put them together, fold it in half, and just come up until I get to the top where there's a nice loop. And then what I want to do is determine which side of my rock is going to, or my stone is going to be the top and which is going to be the bottom. I like to kind of give the top, make the top the wider part, and then it's a little bit easier to determine whether or not, especially if you're going to do a half one that's like this, that's kind of 2/3 of the way down. If you're doing one that's actually underneath, you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to do like a half pouch, you want to make sure that you have a larger part at the top so that the pouch won't slip off. So what I'm going to do is just take my cord, make a small loop, and settle it on the bottom of my rock. I don't want it to go up here. I want it actually on the bottom, because this loop and your knots, your first knots, are going to create a little basket. So I'm going to go here, just on the bottom of my rock. Let's get that back so you can see. And then I'm going to make an overhand knot in my cord. So that's basically just looping it around my finger, and then bring, oops, wrap it around my finger, and then bring the looped part through the noose and just tie it. I don't want to tie it too tight because I need to check and make sure it's the right size. So there's the bottom of my rock. Kind of settles on there. I'm going to take it over a little bit. I think I can tighten my rock now. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller because I really don't want it to slide up my rock. And depending on what kind of cord you're using, especially if you're using something like satin, it can stretch a little bit, and you don't want it to stretch over your stone. So I think that's good. So now I'm going to maneuver my rock, my cord, and my knot until it's nicely tied. So there we have that. Good. So the next thing I'm going to do is take one of my other two pieces of cord, and I'm going to fold that in half as well, just like I did with the first one. The end of the cords together, come up to the top where there's a loop. And now what I'm going to do with that is take that loop through the loop, the knotted loop on the first one. Just bring it through. Let it settle there. And then I'm going to bring both tails of that cord through the loop. I'm just folding it back on itself and making a knot around the other cord. So there we have that. Again, you don't need to make it too tight yet because you might want to scoot it around a little bit. So you want to keep it loose enough so that you can move it if you need to. So there's my second cord attached to the first cord, like so. Now I'm going to take the third cord, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the second one. Fold it in half. Come up to the top where I have a loop here, and slide that again through the first knotted cord. Fold it back on itself and bring the tails through the loop. And pull it up until I have a knot. So now that one is also tied around the first cord. Again, I'm keeping it nice and loose so I can scoot it around, because what I want is to have a little triangle here. And there we have that. So now I have a little triangle, and that's where my stone is going to rest. Like so. Yes, there we go. So that's my first set of knots. Now we're going to do several sets of knots up the side of the rock so that it looks like this. So my first thing that I need to do, get this thing settled. The first thing that I need to do is lay out my cords. Just stretch them out to the sides like so. So there's my center, there are my 3 cords. Now the first thing that I want to do is take one cord and bring it over to the one closest to it. And now I'm going to make a little knot. Again, I'm going to make an overhand knot, wrapping the cord around my finger, bringing the tail through the opening. And before I tighten it, I want to see how big my opening is here. That looks pretty good. I'm going to tighten it just a little bit, but not all the way. So you're going to refer back to your rock a lot to determine how you want your knots to look. So there's my first knot. On the side. Let's see, do I like that? That's not too bad. I like that. So it's just a little, making a small basket here. So there's my first knot on the side. And then I'm going to make the others to kind of match the size of that one. So I'm going to take the other half of that pair and match it up with the half of the pair that's closest to it. So I'm going to go right over here. And I'm going to make another overhand knot with an opening about the same size, as close as I can get to the size of the first one that I just made. So there's my first one. This is my second one that I'm going to make. Make my overhand knot. Check the size. See if it looks comparable to the first one. They look pretty similar. I think I like it. Tighten my knot. And let's check it against the rock. So how are we looking here? Looking pretty good. Yes. So now we're going to do the first and last one of this row of knots. So these are the last two that are loose. I'm going to put them together. Try to make it the same size as the other two. Make an overhand knot. Check my little triangle. It looks pretty good. So there's my first set of knots. And let's try it on, see what it looks like so far. Nice, not bad. You've also got to remember that you need to decide where you want your knots to go. See, we have a little basket here. But when we're working with a stone or a rock that's not symmetrical, you don't have to worry about everything being absolutely perfect because your rock is not a perfect form or shape, perfectly symmetrical form or shape. So it's up to you to decide, use your artistic abilities to decide how you want your knots to look. Right now, I'm trying to get it nice and secure. So I have my first row of knots, and now I'm going to go on and make my second row of knots because it looks like, because this is a pretty long rock, I'm going to need at least three rows, possibly four. And I know this is kind of boring to watch me sit here and make knots, but one of the joys or the advantages of doing this on camera for you is that I get to do everything that you're doing in real time, sort of. Okay, so now again, we have 3 sets of pairs. We're gonna separate them off. One strand to the one that's closest to it, make another knot there, and do the same thing that we did for the last row. So I'm gonna grab one strand from this pair, another strand from the other pair, and I'm gonna make a nice knot. This time I think I'm gonna make the triangle a little bit larger, just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Make an overhand knot. Can't rush. And because this is no frills, this is a great thing for guys to do. One of the things that I've liked to do is do some wire wrapping with rocks. And one of the things that I see people wearing more than anything else is their wire wrapped rock. And at first I just didn't get it, but it's a matter of taking something very ordinary and turning it into something special. I think that's what that's about. And so I like that idea. Okay, let me check and make sure this is not too big an opening. I want to make sure my rock is secure. I think that's fine. Yeah, that's very pretty. And then that way we can make sure that the stone is not too covered up with knots. In this case, I'm trying to make the stone and the pouch equally important. I want you to see both. Okay, that one's done. Let's go to my second pair and split that off, and we're going to put it with this one with this one. Again, the one that's closest to it. Okay. Iron knot. And the last one. Starting to see my basket. Again, another overhand knot. And would you look at that? Now it actually settles right down in there. Awesome. That looks great. I think I might take this down a little bit. Yeah, I might close these up a little bit because I don't want quite that large an opening. That's why I say don't make it too tight so that you still have room to adjust it if you need to. I'm going to bring that down just a bit. Okay, yeah, let's look at that other one. Okay, let's check it out again. I might want to adjust the third one as well. Okay, we'll take that a little down a little more. And again, it's really up to you how much space you want. How much of your rock you want to show. It's more about, oh, my phone just went off, sorry. It's more about how much of your stone you want to show. And if you have a really pretty crystal, you might want to really open up the triangles and make the knots really far apart so that you can see what's in there. As long as it's secure enough that it's not going to come out or fall out or slip out the sides, you're fine. But the way we're doing this makes that almost impossible. Yeah, there we go. Much better. So I'm going to do one more row of knots. Yes, one more row of knots, and I think we'll have our little pouch / basket complete. I heard these referred to as different things. Cage, basket, pouch, whatever you like is good. Okay, so there's my one pair, there's my second pair, and there's my third pair. And let's put these together. Okay, let's go over here. Do my overhand knot. And again, just make sure you attach 1/2 of one pair to the strand that's closest to it. Keep it a little loose so I can check it out. Let's go to the next one. And the last one. Okay, isn't that cute? Let's put my stone in there. Fantastic. I like it. Just make my little adjustments, the way I arrange the knots, the way I want them. This one's really open on this side and a little tighter on the other side. You can also, I did 3. You could do 4 if you want. The reason that why this is so open on the front here, or the back, or whatever you want to call that, is because I didn't do 4 sides. I did 3 sides. If you wanted more knots surrounding your rock or your stone, In fact, if you have a four-sided stone, I think I had one down here somewhere, but if you had an actual four-sided stone, you might want to go with four strands instead of three. I wouldn't go less than three because it's a little fragile. You want to make sure you have something that's secure enough, especially if it's something that you're going to wear, that you don't have to worry about it falling out of your pouch. You want to make sure it's absolutely 100% secure. So I wouldn't go with less than three strands to secure your stone. All right, so that's the end of that part. So next what you're going to do is finish it off. You can do a couple of different things. You can just do a nice big overhand knot at the top, which is what I did there and on the other one, or you can do a fancy tie. Not sure how much you want to work on this, but if you wanted to, there's a really pretty, also really pretty way that you can tie this off. And I think what I'm going to do first, yep, I think this is good. I was going to say make another knot, but I think what you can do is just do, I'm just going to do a plain tie, a plain knot. Just again, set these apart in pairs. Take one pair and tie a knot, and then, or make a tie and then tie that into a knot. And then take one half of the strands of the pair of strands and match it up with the one next to it, closest to it. And then tie that twice. Into a knot. And then go to the next one. Tie that into a knot. Go to the next one over. Tie that to the one half of the pair. And the last one. And now it's completely enclosed. And from there, oops, I'm going to make an overhand knot. I'm going to twist it a little bit so it's nicely close together. Make an overhand knot out of all of the ties. Bring all of the tails through. So there's my loop, bringing all the tails through. And then very carefully slide it down until you can get it as close to the rock as possible. I'm sliding that down. Nice and easy here. I like to pull each of the ties, each of the ends. I know it's nice and tight. And there you have it. Then the way you finish it is also up to you. You can do just what I did with these. This one, a little bit, I just, oh, there went my ruler. This one, I just left the strands straight. I didn't do anything with it. This one, I just made a couple of little knots in it. And if you want to get even more fancy, you have 6 strands here. You can separate them out into a pair of 3 and 3. And braid them. Now, if you're going to braid it, again, you need to determine how much you need in order what it's going to shrink down to in your braid. Now, for the way to do that is, again, just like you did with the knots, take a length of cord, measure it, 5 inches, measure it, braid it, measure it again, see what's left. If you have 4 inches left, then that means for every 5 inches of unbraided cord, you need to add another inch. So if I wanted a 20-inch drop, I wanted this part to be 20 inches long, but I wanted to braid it, then I would need 25 inches of cord, because that would shrink down to 20 inches by the time I braided it and finished it off. But I wanted to make sure that this wasn't too long. My videos are getting a little long, but this is what we have. You can use this as a hanging. You can use it as a necklace. It depends on what you want to do with it. And again, you can just leave the strands as is, unfettered, with no adornment, and wear it, and it looks great. Or you can knot it, put some knots in it to give it a little bit of interest, something a little more interesting to look at. Or you can separate it into strands of 3 and 3 and braid it. And I'm going to do a little bit of that just so you can see what that would look like. My rock is fairly heavy, but it's easier if you like put it in your lap or put it on a clipboard or something like that in order to anchor it. But anyway, let me get these out the way I want. Let's see, this one, and this one go together nicely. Let's just give it a little bit of a braid so you can see what that would look like. And that's what it would look like if you braided it. That might be a little interesting. So yeah, you could braid that, you could keep it straight, you could braid it part of the way up and then tie a knot and then let the rest of it be natural. It's entirely up to you, but there's your pouch. That's the way that works. Make sure it's all nicely together here. Here we go. Here's my pouch. And that's it. So that's it for the macrame yarn type things that we're going to do. We're going to go back and do some wire wrapping. As a matter of fact, next week we have a really fun project that we're going to do. I'm going to do some water marbling. I get to do some things that I can't do in the classroom simply because it takes too much time. They might be a little too intricate, or there may not be what I need in the room in order to work. For instance, the water marbling obviously requires water. It also requires some acrylic paint or nail polish or whatever you want to use. But the problem with that in a classroom is you're dipping it in water, it has to dry. What are you going to do while you're waiting for it to dry? But now that you're at home, in the comfort of your own home, you can look at what I'm doing. You can follow along. You can do the dip marbling, put it on pause, wait till it's dry, come back and finish up the project. Not something I can do in the classroom, or we'll be twiddling our thumbs for 10 or 15 minutes while we wait for it to dry. But that's why I'm taking this opportunity to do something that's fun like this. It basically starts out with a disc, one of those plain glass discs that you put in the bottom of a plant or in your fish bowl or something like that for decoration. It reflects the light, very pretty. And by the time you paint it or dip marble it, it comes out like this. Nice, different psychedelic like colors. And then once we finish with that, we're going to wire wrap it and make it into a pendant. So we're going to wrap it, make it into a pendant, something that we can wear. So from this to this, it's awesome. Anyway, that's next time. See you next time. Stay safe, stay well, and bye-bye. Enjoy, have fun, have a great weekend, actually. Have a great weekend.